Hello, my players that are going to be doing the Pathfinder one-shot, the River of Darkness. So, River into Darkness. Interesting and fun stuff. I wanted to make this video for you so that ahead of time from our session, you guys be prepared. I know many of you, this is the first time for Pathfinder. I would just say don't be afraid of Pathfinder. And I say that, again, everybody makes a big deal that Pathfinder is so different from D&D. It's not. It came from D&D 3.5. It is very, very, very similar to 3.0 and 3.5. I know 5 has changed. It simplified a lot of things. So, you know, for your average video game player, D&D 5e is very easy to pick up. Pathfinder is not that hard. There's a couple things you keep in mind. There are two ways you can build a character. And these two ways are very straightforward. You do 46 6 times for the 6 stats. Take your best 3 rolls on your dice out of each of the 4. So you're rolling 4 dice, you take your best 3, and that's where you can put it into any stat. Now, there's another way of doing this, and this is possibly easier for some of you guys. I'm going to show you this. In the core thing, they've got a thing called ability score costs. I give you guys a high fantasy build, which is 20 points. All your base stats, so strength, intelligence, wisdom, con, dex, charisma, are all base 10. And then from there, you spend the points to up it to that level. And you can see the points on the right-hand side, and in the center it says the score. So it allows you to spend and do different things. If you want to build them that way, that's fine too. Now, it's very straightforward. So, ability scores of 8 or 9 get a -1 modifier. Okay? 10, 11 is a base 0 modifier. So it means you don't get any bumps or anything out of having that stat score. 12, 13's plus 1. 14, 15 plus 2, 16, 17 plus 3, 18, 19 plus 4, and 20, 21 plus 5. That's about as high as you're going to get at a second level. Now, keep in mind, your races will give you different modifiers. The neatest thing about being a human, and this is where they make this really cool, humans get some bumps that the other races do not get. And this is where, as you choose your race, you take a look at things. But they get +1 to any ability score you choose. Unlike the other races where, with the exception of a half-elf, where you have to put it into certain stats because of your race, how your race is. This allows you to choose which one you want to do. The other thing that humans get is they get a bonus extra feat at first level, and they get a bonus skill rank at first level. Okay, every time you gain a level. So you can choose, every level you get a +1 to your skills for just being a human. Now you can also convert this to hit points, so you can do either one. Mini GM in the background. I didn't figure you guys would mind that. Okay, and so your human language, normally the core human language, they figure is based off of Absalom and Taldor, which are the 2 centers of the Inner Sea. It's called Taldane. Okay, but your common can be the language from whatever your race is from. So Kelishites get Kelish, Garandi get Osiriani, Chelish get Taldane, which is common for them. If you're an Ulfin or if you are a Jadwiga, you get Ulfin as your language. If you are a Kelid, you get Hallet is your language. Kelids are the barbarians. Shonti get that, Shonti, or they get Varisian. So, and your Varisians are your gypsies. They're the way north. So they're in places like Ustalab, Bravoy, Varisia, and even over into Irisian, the areas of the north. They're a nomadic people. They nomaded the whole world. Some of them settled down, some of them didn't. So they're very colorful, scarves, outgoing. They got kind of a dusky skin to them, and they're very open-minded in how they look at life. So these are a lot of your human races. Now there are other human races that are out there. So keep that in mind. The Vudrani are basically your Indian and your Pakistani style people. So they are from the Isle of Jalmaray. Also, there's another continent called Casmaron, which is a far continent where there's thousands of different empire people that are all part of the Vudrani Empire. So there's a lot of different things. The Inner Sea, you're going to get to know it if you play it more. It's a very rich culture. It's like Faerun is. So in the sense of Chaotic, where you're playing Neverwinter Nights, you're playing in the Sword Coast area. The world is very similar to Faerun in that it's rich culturally. There's a lot of back history and a lot of things that go on. Now, where you guys are going with classes, that's up to you. You can pick your classes. Now, the ones that I find best suited for a pirate campaign are the fighter types, the bards, the rogues. All do well. The swashbuckler, which is more of an advanced class, but it's a cool class. It's a mix of two classes. They have fusion classes that are in the advanced class guide. Your gunslinger is another one. It's a really good one. Your Scald. Your Scald is kind of a warrior-like bard. So they're an interesting one to play as a race. Alchemists. Alchemists can brew a lot of potions, make interesting captains, and have an explosive power, especially when it's coming to gunpowder or explosive things that they can invent. Trying to think as well. Witches are real good. Witches can control a lot of different situations and hex and curse. So they're definitely an interesting class to play. Druids, you're on the water. God forbid. A druid makes real good sense. In fact, a couple of the free captain lords are druids for that reason. Rangers, because you don't get lost as easy. Their survival type of skills are real good for the water. Let me think. What else? There's some other ones that I'm not thinking about. Ninja because of their nimbleness, especially with some of the Asian empires, and ninja is not a bad one. And so there's a couple of those that you can really pick up on that are really fun. There are some other ones like the Investigator that could be interesting, or the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor can be of goddess Besmara, so you're a pirate Inquisitor. Anybody who is against piracy, you're going to go against. So there's a lot of different things you can use. Now, common gods and goddesses are where you're going to be at. Pharasma, goddess of life, death, and prophecy. And she's neutral, and she is in that area. Besmara. Besmara is the pirate goddess, kind of like their Calypso of their world. Very fickle, very interesting goddess. You can do, let me think, Caden Kayleen. Caden Kayleen is a human that rose up to god status. He is the god of drink and celebration, as well as freedom and combat and adventure. So he's an interesting god. He's chaotic good. Desna is the goddess of the moon, stars, and dreams. So she's a really interesting one you can do. Gozra is a male-female type of goddess. It's the storm. It's their Poseidon of their world, and so it's a male-female aspect. Kind of an interesting mix. Let me think. Akashek. Akashek is a giant praying mantis. He is the assassin of the gods, and well respected. He's a lawful evil, and the Red Mantis Society is an interesting bunch. They're in the Isle of Ilsmagorti, which is south of the Shackle Islands, and they're more secretive, but they are assassins for hire. I'm trying to think who else. You can always do, and this is a tougher one for the pirate campaign, but you can do some of the gods that are like Sarenrae, that are healing and good and ultimate good. If you're going to do a Buccaneer style player, let me go to a couple of the other gods and goddesses. I'm forgetting some as always when I'm doing these things. All right, so Nethys is the god of magic, kind of an odd god. He's got part of his face that's normal and part that's burned because he's into experimentation and doing and stretching your goals when it comes to magic. So that's a good one to have. Shellen is neutral good. She's the goddess of beauty, art, love, and music. Kind of interesting. Maybe not as good for this campaign, but it's definitely there. Callistria. excellent goddess. The goddess of the sting, as I call her. She is goddess of trickery, lust, and revenge. And she is well worshipped, especially on the Isle of Kent in the Shackle Islands. So she is well respected. Norgorber, god of greed, secrets, poison, and murder, is another one that's real interesting for that area. So those are some of the majors that can be in this area that are real good gods and goddesses to worship. So if you're looking for one, those are the different ones you kind of want to look at and see. Now, for types of weapons, you're going to have cutlasses, scimitars, sabers, those type of weapons. You got to remember, you're on ships and moving things, so crossbows work much better than a longbow will or a short bow, because the jostling of the ship will affect you more than a crossbow that you can set onto something and fire much easily. Hand crossbows, very, very usable. So you're going to start at second level, which is about 1650 experience points. Take your starting gold and multiply it by 2. Or you can use the 350 that I gave you. I think it was 350 or 450 to start out with. You can use either one. Again, can you buy some magic? Sure, some potions, some minor things. You're not going to get to afford a lot of things at this level. Masterwork will cost you a little bit. You have to look at the rules of Masterwork. There's I think weapons is 150 add-on. And then 75 for armor, but you'll have to double check it. I'm kind of going off my head right here with that. Ages, starting ages. So you can pick up the ages for your race. Humans are going to start in the 20s. You're going to be young adults, kind of making your way in the world. Things you're going to want to know, skills. So intelligence is a real key thing for your skills. And a lot of your buying of how many skills you get is based on your intelligence modifier plus another amount they give you for the class times a certain number. Now, the skills are fairly straightforward. They're a little bit different than D&D in this. You're not just using your ability score for your skills, okay, plus a little bit of ranking. We have a thing called ranks, and every level you get ranks. So your ranks that you're available to have are based on your level. So first level can put 1 rank into a skill. Second level can put 2 ranks. Third level can put 3 ranks. Fourth level can put 4 ranks. And that comes out of your skill points. Now, you've got class skills. Class skills are an advantage in this way. If it is a class skill or a race-based skill that says this is a normal skill for you, what it means is when you put a rank into that skill, you not only get your ability score modifier added to that, but you get a +3 proficiency for being proficient at that skill. That's how they disseminate through your skills that you're not proficient with and the ones you are. What are really good skills for pirates? Climbing, survival, swimming, profession sailor, profession navigator, craft map maker. Let's see, what other ones? Perception, because you want to be able to spot things. Bluff, because you want to bluff your way out of things, BS your way out of things. Diplomacy is more telling the truth and trying to negotiate your way around things. Sleight of hand, if you're really roguey, that allows you to just make things disappear and appear in your hands quickly and steal things from people. That's the stealing ability for picking pockets. Disable device allows you to disable traps and deal with things like that. Acrobatics. Acrobatics is a plethora of things. I love acrobatics because if you use an acrobatics check, you can tumble by an opponent, a threatened square, where normally they get an attack of opportunity if you go through. If you make a DC 15 check, you make it through that square unchallenged, so they don't take a swing at you. So for people to get by somebody to get a flanking attack with like rogue, so it's backstabbing, that's what you use. And that's something they've got is a backstab skill, which is the flanking or bonuses. Now, there's a couple things you're going to want to know about armor class. They have 3 armor classes for a reason. Flat-footed means you catch an opponent off guard. So it means your dexterity doesn't factor in. You are flat-footed and can't avoid an attack. Touch attack. Those are the spell attacks that bypass your armor as well, but they don't bypass your dex to try to hit you. So natural armor works for you and helps you there because they can't bypass that as easy, but just keep that in mind. So those are some basics. You got your 3 saving throws. You've got your will save, which is anything that has to do with your mental or your wisdom. So those are charm spells and type of spells that are going to affect you mentally. So sleep spells, charm spells, other type of spells, you're going to be doing that type of check, and it's wisdom based. Fortitude, those are poisons and things that affect your actual health of your body, diseases, other type of things, rotting touches. That's something you're going to want to make that type of save for. Reflex is any type of spell that is cast on you like a fireball, lightning bolt that you can jump out of the way and try to avoid. So keep that in mind. The other difference is, unlike D&D where you get a plethora of cantrip spells that are powerful that you can use again and again, your 0 level cantrips you can use again and again, but they're not as powerful as D&D. So keep that in mind. Hang on real quick. But keep in mind, there's going to be certain skills you're going to want to use. And getting used to those skills, it'll give you a little chart under the skills that'll tell you about them. If you got questions, ask me in game. The one thing I want to tell you guys, I'm not going to be the harsh GM on you, okay? I don't expect every one of you to know how to play your characters and do your rules. It's a learn as you go. It's kind of a learning experience. I'm patient with you. If you got questions how a mechanic works, ask. We're not in any rush. I know we want to do this in a 2-shot, and that's fine, and we can do that. I don't want to take away from too many people's times, but as like we play tested, sometimes a 1-shot is more than a 1-shot. Most of them are 2 or 3 shots. So what else do you need to know? Feats. Get used to, there are 2 types of things. There are things called either tricks, or they have 3 different words for them. Tricks, or bravado for the swashbuckler, or gunslinger is grit. Okay, you get to do actual tricks that add bonuses to your abilities. These are based on a skill stat, so they're going to take like your charisma for the swashbuckler, or they're going to take maybe the wisdom for the gunslinger. And what they're going to do is say, take that score plus a certain number, and that's how many grit points you get a day. So when you want to buff something, know the term in D&D, buffing, you spend a point from grit, bravado, or a rogue trick type of thing in there, and then that allows you to boost your attack or whatever you're trying to do. If you have an extreme success or a critical, it adds points back into that daily. So keep in mind, you do a grit point, you spend it to get a good gunshot when you're a gunslinger and shoot something out of somebody's hand, and you are critically successful. It's as if you never spent that grit point that day. So it's kind of a cool dynamic. You got to get a little used to it. I'll help you with it. Don't worry. You know, I'm not going to sit there and go, okay, you got to know it or else. I don't expect that of players until they're well into 2 or 3 years with me. Then I kind of expect it because I just don't want to have to keep track of everything. So keep that in mind. You're going to learn tricks and other things. So keep that in mind. It'll allow you to do it. It'll say it under your ability that you get this, this, and this. Keep in mind. Now, archetypes. That's another thing that's different. Archetypes allow you to build your class to a certain thing. Rogues get archetype pirate. Gunslingers get archetype buccaneer. You pick that archetype, what it'll say is certain abilities are replaced with other abilities. So keep that in mind. And what it does is it fits you more towards that type of build. So that's one advantage with Pathfinder. It allows you to build a character that's very unique. Where in D&D, a rogue is a rogue is a rogue. You got a burglar type or you got this other type. And that's really what it is. And that's all there is. And it's simplification. I'll be honest, it's why I hate 5e. Okay, if you guys ever wonder why I'm not a big fan of 5e that you guys like to play, that's the #1 reason. It goes like this. Okay, here's what you can play. You want anything else? Sorry. Now, once in a while, they'll give you some bigger class builds. They convert, you know, all these things with Gunslinger and that, you know what they've converted them from? Pathfinder. Somebody who did a homebrew that converted a Pathfinder class to your system. So you can thank Pathfinder for that. And that's why I'm a huge proponent of them. It's a great system. My players, if they play a War Priest, their War Priest is never the same. Their Rogue is never the same. Their Ninja is never the same. They don't ever, my players never pick the same archetype. They're always using an archetype, and they're always building it specifically towards the campaign theme. And I love that about them because it changes the whole build of the character. So, Max, a player in one of my campaigns, built his guy to be a spy type. Well, he doesn't do as good with disabled device and some of the other things that a rogue does. But when it comes to BSing and working his way around things and blending in and not sticking out like a sore thumb and forging things, he is unbelievable. His build is very strong and suited for that. And it's hard for the NPCs to detect what he's done. And yes, he's limited in some ways, but in other ways, he is buffed up to the max. And so keep in mind that that's what an archetype does. So if you want, look under archetypes under the class and look at some ones that you think would make great pirate characters or would be great for a jungle campaign. If you got questions, hit me up. I'm serious. We've got 3-4 weeks beforehand. Some of you guys haven't talked with me very much. That's up to you. It's a one-shot. I don't encourage that as a GM. What I encourage is interact with me. Use me like a GM. We're not talking friends. We're not talking life. We're not BSing other things. I am your GM at that point. Ask me questions. Email me. Want my email? ricmoh43@yahoo.com. Email me. Say, Rick, this is Amanda. Rick, this is Kit. Rick, this is Tiny. Rick, this is Akeisha. Rick, this is Dave. Rick, this is Amara. And just ask. I will take the time. Kim rolls her eyes, but I do. I take the time for my players to really sit down and go, all right, let's look at this. I love a backstory, even in a one-shot. I love a backstory. Why? Because I can incorporate that even into the one-shot. And I will. You think I don't? That's the #1 thing my players love is I take their backstories and I drill them right in. And you guys heard me, if you guys watched the thing I did on the Reign of Winter deal, I explained their backstory to you as much as I could, as much as I didn't give away things to other people. And the amazing thing is, it makes it really cool. And then you're role-playing, and it's fun. And I think, you know, Amanda's kind of excited about this because she's getting to play whatever she wants in the background story. I don't limit you. I'm not going to. Now, I may take a couple things of yours and tweak it to better suit what the campaign would be. But I'll tell you and say, okay, I like this, but let's tweak it this way so it looks this. Most times I haven't had complaints because it fits in really well to the backstory. Heck, I'm letting a paladin play chaotic evil. Or, chaotic good, not evil. Oh, anti-paladin. Chaotic good in my campaign. Most GMs in Pathfinder would go wonky about that. But his god's chaotic good. It's Caden Kayleen. He's not going to be lawful. His god isn't lawful. Doesn't make sense. Why would a holy warrior be lawful if your god's not lawful? Makes no sense. So that's why I'm common sense when it comes to that. I call him a holy warrior, but he's the same thing as a paladin. Gets the same abilities. So keep these things in mind. I will let you do some unique things if you talk with me. If you just come in and throw it at me, it's harder for me to adapt to it. So keep that in mind. All right, so that said, let's take a look at a couple other things. The background of the story. There's 2 places you guys can really, well, you guys can come from anywhere in the world, but let me tell you, for ease of just the adventure itself, let me give you a couple places. They call it the Isles of Shackles, but they're the Shackle Islands, okay? So the Shackle Islands, if you take a look at them, are right off the coast of the Mwangi Expanse, which is the jungle where you guys will be. Okay? They've got all different races in these islands. They've got the Vudrani. They've got the Tien. Now, the Tiens are two types of Tiens. The Tiens are the Asian cultures. So if you're going to do a human Tien, let me give you the Tiens that you can be. That way it makes sense. There are two Tiens in the Ushinawa Islands, okay? There are the Tien Min and the Tien Sing. The Min are the Japanese, the Sing are the Chinese, okay? So those are your two Tiens that are in those islands. The Vudrani, they're pretty much open, though their island is ruled by a Rakshasa lord. So keep that in mind, a little bit evil. So you've got the Taldans that are in those islands, the Chelish. There's a Chelish that hates the Thrun Empire. They hate the diabolical. They like some aspects of it, but they're against the Queen Abigail Thrun. They don't like her the second. She slighted, basically the guy that rules it was one of her admirals that she slighted, and he broke off and said enough. You also have Ulfen that are in that island area, and Hallets, and you do have your Kelishites and Gerans. There are a lot of polyglots, and the polyglots are on the island of, and I'll give you that island. It's the island of, bear with me, it's the Magangi Cove, and it's Ngozu is the city there. So you have that as well. There are a halfling bunch of escapee slaves in Bag Island that are the halflings of the area. You have also the Tempest K, which are more the druids. The druid free captain rules that area, and it sits almost on the Eye of a Bendigo, which is a permanent hurricane that's in that area. You also have Hell Harbor, which is the Chelish. You have Port Peril, which is the capital. That's ruled by the Kirdak Bonefist, the Storm King. And he is the head of all the free captains. And then you have cannibals that are in that area as well, off the Cannibal Islands. And you have some others there as well. So keep in mind there's a lot of places you can play. Now, where are they near? They're near the Turwa Highlands, which if you take a look here, you will see the Kava lands, and then you'll see the Turwa Highlands. That's where you're going to be near. And Blood Cove is right here. So that's where you guys are going to be going to at some point in the adventure. Just giving you a little prep. So you can be from the Mwangi Expanse. Now, the Mwangi Expanse has several different groups that are there. They have a lot of different races that are available, and I'm going to give them all to you. There are Azamars and Tieflings there, lots of them. It's just the jungle, and they do well there. The Halflings are kind of a cinnamony skin, and there are some ones that are cannibalistic as well. So keep that in mind. Some of them worship Zura, the demon goddess, and so they're bloodthirsty to a core. But a lot of the halflings are just more slaves that have been freed from the Chelish Empire. The gnomes of the Mwangi Expanse are in the western reaches for the most part, but there are some Spriggans, some bloodthirsty red-cap type of gnomes, and they're just a nasty lot. So keep that in mind. They have lizard folk. Would I let you play a lizard man? Possibly, if you talked with me about it. They have Cherokwa. And Cherokwa I won't let you play. They're more the monkey people, and they're kind of evil, and they worship the Gorilla King, who is very evil and demonic. And he is a raised-up gorilla, not very nice guy at all. There are giants there. There are swamp giants and hill giants, as well as some other giants there. Marsh giants are available in that area. There are boggards and serpent folk. And so there are also a bunch of other races that are there on the human side. The denizens and the tribes in this area, there's many minor tribes, but they fall into the larger tribe groups. The Bekyar are the nasties. They're the slavers. They are ash-skinned, they're very tall, and they're very mean-spirited. And all the other Vanuatu, or all the other polyglot races fear them because they get enslaved by them. The Vanuats are mostly on the coast, and the Vanuats are your fisher folk and worship Gozra and Desna, and they're more tribal people in that area. And they even go up into Rahadum, which is up a little bit from the Spans. So in Lurgan and the Sodden lands. So they are very prominent people in that area. They're believed to once be part of the Shori Empire, which was a very powerful empire of dark-skinned people. The Moxie. The Moxie are a interesting people. They reach out. They're in the central reaches of the Mwangi Expanse, and they are very colorful, trade-oriented people. They go up into Thuvia and even into Osirian as traders, and they're very, outgoing towards other races. The Zenge are the smaller, shorter, darker people, and they're much more xenophobic. They keep to themselves. They do not like settlers. And often they worship the child god, who is a mummy god of a kid who rules their empire. There are dwarves. The dwarves are two types. They're the Pomets that are out of Osirian, which are more lawful. And then there's also the Mabeki. And the Mabeki are in the Turwa Highlands up in those hills. They're a little darker skin and again, very outgoing towards the humans in the area. The elves, there's two types of elves that are in these things, and they're in different areas. The Akuje, actually there's three. The Akuje, the Kalije, and the Alije. The Alije are in the north part. The Kalije are in the southern part, or the northwestern jungles, and then the Okuje are more near Blood Cove. They do not like the Chelish, the Taldans, and other types of humans. They are okay with polyglots. They are okay with Garundi, which are more of they're more of a mocha or lighter skinned people that are kind of mixed races. So they're the Osirians and other races that are in the area. They're somewhat of a blend. So they're very open-minded to them. And that's your races that you can choose from. Now, I gave you some other ones, and that's fine. Throw those in there as well. They're all doable in that area, and we can talk a little more about their backgrounds. Let's see, what else? Spells. Just be familiar that your ability scores will affect your spells. So keep that in mind for starting spells. Now, again, a little more limiting, and that's the one thing, but the spells get more powerful than D&D at higher levels. So the spell system in D&D 5e is a little better than Pathfinder. I give it credit there. It really is. Where Pathfinder's a little more limiting, but that's okay. You'll get around that because they give you better hit points and better starting hit points starting out. Most of your spellcasters are a D6 in hit points, which in other campaigns are D4s, which don't allow you much life. So keep that in mind. What else? I'm trying to think. Oh, you do want the professions of sailor or navigator or survival in this one, because you're going to have to survive some harsh things on both water and land. So keep that in mind. Now, the elves near there, the waterborne elves and some of the other water races that we talked about that I know that Akisha's really interested in, Aki on those, they are all from that area. Now, there's a lot of water races, but keep in mind there's weresharks in the area, there are merfolk, and there are shahagan as well, and Lokatha, the fish folk, and some others. There's a lot of different things because of the deep oceans around there. So keep that in mind, and there's a lot of enemies that are out there to those different races. Gillmen are the Aslanti. The Aslanti are a kind of a dead race. Most of the people that are Aslanti are descendants that have some of that blood in them, and they've got a high widow's brow as a people, and they're very intelligent, and they're very magically adept. But the Gillmen are the adaptation of that. And one thing you'll find out in the history, and a lot of people know about this, the aboleths on this world are called the Veiled Masters. And the Veiled Masters work through controlling people like their puppets to get different governments to do what they want. and they make mankind or the different demi-humans their playthings. And they are real, and they are there, and you will run into them at some point. Maybe not in this adventure, but on this world, they are prominent. The other thing you're going to run into is there are 3 different cults that are very nasty. The cults of Rovagug the Destroyer. Rovagug is the world ender. He is there just to rip and cause destruction to bring the end of the world. And that's what all his disciples believe in. Rovagug is called the Rough Beast. He is imprisoned on this world by the other gods. So he is underground on Galarian in the continent of Casmaron in his prison. So there he lets his children escape, and they're nasty things. The Tarasque is one of his children on this world. So keep that in mind, as is the Froghemoth and some other things. There are some children of Rovagug that are nasty. Lamashtu. Lamashtu is a demon goddess. She is the mother of beasts. So she loves when a human interbreeds with some other race. The gnolls love to worship her. She is the mother of gnolls. And so she is nasty. Now, gnolls are on the continent of Garand, and most of them are slavers, and they're real nasty folk. And then the other one is Zan Kuthan. And Zan Kuthan is a lawful evil god. He was the brother to Shelyn, the goddess of beauty. He went out to the Cthulhu god's realms and came back a different person. He is the god of piercing, torture, and self-mutilation. He is a nasty. He would be called a Cenobite, if you guys remember the Cenobites from Hellraiser. He would be the god of Cenobites. And he is a nasty individual who's very dark. And so are his people. They wear a lot of piercings and black, and they are your goth on steroids. Your S&M goth on steroids. That is Zan Kuthan. And they're a nasty bunch. They're into the shadows and the shadow realms and everything else. So keep in mind you might run into some of those. Trying to think what other things that you guys need to know. Ships. So ship movements, you got to be involved. You're going to be involved in the day ship tasks. So you got to be able to climb rigging, work with things, and you're going to make rolls, skill checks to make things work. There will be storms. You're near the Eye of Abednego, so storms are common. Pirates are common. If you are not a free captain pirate or serve a free captain, you are fair game in the Shackle Isles. You are then not considered an equal pirate on equal footing, and you can't ask parley. They will come after you with a vengeance. You are a freelancer, and they don't like you. So keep that in mind when you do that. And just keep in mind that there's another group that exists, a shadow group called the Aspis Consortium. They are the, remember Pirates of the Caribbean? They are the Dutch Indies, the East Indies trading company of this world. They are Chelish in origin, and they recruit all kinds of people into their ranks, and they do normal business, kind of like the mafia does, but they do a lot of business that's on the side too. And the Pathfinders, which are the archivers out of Absalom, they're the kind of the good guys. They're the treasure hunters, the Indiana Jones group, that they bring the treasures back to either the country or to their own area to catalog it and really look into it and explore it. The Aspis Consortium wants to use it for power. So keep that in mind. You will run into the Aspis Consortium here. This area, when slavery is huge. And slavery is condoned on 3/4 of this world. So keep that in mind. Only in the country of Andoran is slavery frowned upon. Everywhere else, it's kind of legal. And most times the halflings and the small folk are considered fair game for that. I think that's it. Knowledges. What kind of knowledges do you want to know? Knowledge local, knowledge history, knowledge geography, knowledge nobility, doesn't hurt, knowledge religion, and arcana. Arcana will tell you anything that's kind of magical, outer worldly. Knowledge planes will tell you planar creatures. Knowledge religion will tell you about different types of religions and what their worship means and different things about them. And when you make these knowledge checks, you can learn things. Now, knowledge dungeoneering tells you about monsters. And so as you use these, you get, actually, if you make a roll and you roll really well, so 20 and above with your bonuses, you can actually find out weaknesses about monsters that you wouldn't know. So keep that in mind. Knowledges are very handy when it comes to these type of things. And knowledge local will get you all the gossip. So you want to use that or bluff or diplomacy. So I'm going to keep it simple. I'm not going to put in prestige points, other things that we use that are allowed to buy you favors and stuff, because again, you guys aren't used to the system. Once you get used to the system a few times, I can get you into more of that type of stuff. I think that's it. It's been about 40 minutes of time with it. I hope it helps you. I really do. If you got further questions, let me know. This was made more or less because as a GM, I want you to have a little bit of feet under you and not feel like, oh Lord, what do I do? The last thing I'm going to hit is a turn, because it's going to be important for combat or otherwise. A turn consists of 3 different things. Swift actions. Some actions like speaking out loud or using a bluff check or diplomacy check are swift actions. They don't cost you a round. You still get a movement and an action. Now, you get a movement and an action in a round. The action is usually combat or some sort of combat maneuver, and that's where CMB and CMD come in. If you want to trip somebody, if you want to bull rush somebody, if you want to tackle somebody, if you want to grapple somebody, it is your CMB roll against their CMD defense. And that's how they do it to make it simplified. That way you can figure out really quick whether you grapple them, pin them, keep them grappled. Those kind of things are all part of that. And there's also attacks. Now you can get 1 attack as an action in that round plus a move. However, if you got multiple attacks, say at a higher level you get a +5 to this attack, a +3 to this attack, and a +1, so you get 3 in a round. You have to use the whole round. It's called a full round action to accomplish this. Some feats will use the term full round action. If it says full round action, it means it takes both your move action and your combat action, and all it gives you at the end is a 5-foot step. And that's it. So otherwise you get a move action, a combat action, and then a 5-foot step at the end. Pretty straightforward. And it makes it really easy for combat. Your spells will tell you it takes a move action or a standard. If they use the term standard action, that's your acting action, not your move action. Okay? If it says full round, it takes that full round and all you get is a 5-foot step at the end. So keep that in mind. Those kind of things are very, very important in the game. And it'll make the mechanics of a round go really quickly if you know these things. Unfortunately, you don't get the buff actions to get additional actions. D&D allows you to do that. Unfortunately, Pathfinder doesn't unless you have a feat that allows you to do that. Haste spells will let you do that. Haste spells gives you an actual extra move of 10 feet to your move, plus it gives you another attack action. So then you can have a move with the extra 10 feet, 2 attack actions, and then another. Certain feats you want to know. If you're an archer, for crossbowmen, you want rapid reload. Rapid reload means you can reload and be ready to go the next round to fire that crossbow. Otherwise, it takes another round portion, or you have to use your move action to reload the next round. And then you lose your move, and all you can do is a fire, reload, fire, reload, fire, reload. Pistol is the same way. Now, with pistols, black powder weapons, a roll of a 1 or 2 in most cases will cause you to misfire and jam. It is in a broken state, and you have to have craft firearms to fix it. And so you're going to have to use that to fix your item. Now, with firearms, the other thing you want to know, if you start out as a gunslinger, you get to pick whether you want a musket or a pistol, black powder pistol. Those items are considered used or weathered, which means you roll a 1 through 4, they jam and break. They're a more weathered firearm. They're a hand-me-down, basically, that hasn't been taken well care of. So you can't really fix those to better. They are what they are, and you can use the raw components to make a gun at cheaper than you can buy it. Most guns are 1,000 gold, so they're not cheap. And so you get that as a part of things. So keep that in mind. I hope this helps you. I hope everybody, this gives you a little bit better idea. I can go more into class depths, but I don't want to until you guys know what you want to play. And I hope it makes it easier in creating it. I know some of you have been a little more fearful and tentative, and don't BS me. I know some of you are, because it's learning a new system, and I understand. But I've learned at 48. I learned all new systems. I just quit throwing out the idea that I'm not going to learn a new system. Look, you learn new video games, you play new games, you learn new skills there. Why wouldn't you? And I think part of it is, and I found this with my son to be the case. My son is a huge video game player. Tabletop is something that's fun to him, but he doesn't view it like a video game. Give him any video game, he'll dive in full head first, spend 600 hours a week playing it. But give him a book like Pathfinder, oh my Lord. No, no, Dad, I can't do that. I know some of you are that way, but let's put it this way. Video games cost a lot of money, and in time, you wear out of them. And the biggest knock I've got to the video game world, because I played it, is the fatigue factor. You don't have a fatigue factor after playing tabletop like you do a video game. It just mentally just drains you, and it's a tax on you. I mean, it just is. I love video games. Don't ever doubt I don't. I used to play for believe me, I was the 25-plus hour player. I just chose after a while to say no. I'd rather play tabletop, much more interactive, more people. I can get in front of them. I can be with them. I come out more energized than I come out of a video game where I come out drained. And so for me, I'm huge on learning these things. But I guess all that to say, I'm not knocking either one. We're one culture or the other, or we're a mix. Don't fear the game. The game is a lot of fun, and people that start playing Pathfinder love it, especially from D&D. They end up becoming absolute converts to it because it's just so much freaking fun. And if you find the right GM, it is so much just edifying and what you can do. And so keep that in mind. I'm looking forward to running you. I'm honored. Thank you for doing this. I know Kim wanted to do this in a way. She wants you guys to know that basically she likes you, and that she wants you to know that she's not trying to limit me, but I just try to be sensitive to her as a fiance. She wants time with me too. And so I try not to overdo my gaming and stuff. It's part of love. I've learned after 2 failed marriages, and I'm going to say that, after 2 failed marriages, what you put in is what you get out. If you guys want to have great relationships in life, pour yourselves into them. If you don't give of yourself, and if all you're looking to get is you will fail in your relationship. It's a guarantee. I can tell you from experience. And if you get tired of it and don't put effort into it again to revitalize it, it will fail. It just will. And I don't want that for you. I want you guys to have great relationships, great long-term marriages, and things in life. I want you to enjoy the things in life with them. It's a great journey when you find your soulmate, God forbid, and I found it in Kim. And I'm very blessed in that way. I really do. I put that song, I Will Follow You Down, by Shinedown. I love that song. That is absolutely my feelings towards Kim. And I've never felt that towards another woman. I've married others, but I've never felt that exact feeling. And so I'm very fortunate and blessed to have her. And I'm blessed to have you guys as friends. And I really believe that. And I value each and every one of you. And thank you for doing this adventure and experiment with me. So I want to let you know I really do appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to have a blast. And I think you're going to want to play more. And I think you're going to come to me at the end of it and go, Rick, I want to do more. And that's the way my campaign folks are. I started out with them. They had some bad experiences with GMs. Now they're addicted. They're like, Rick, when can we play more? And I love them. They're my buddies. And I think the world of them, and I'm excited about it. And I've never been in a system that has had that much excitement. So, again, thank you for 50 minutes of your time. Watch this again as you need it. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it helps you. Thanks.